there's a weird part of me that's still there, like still in that, like I should be
cooking wholesome meals for my
yeah, and I think especially with all these people with their like, oh, I make everything organic and gluten free and whatever, and
shaming.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh crap, and I mean,
is this roast grass fed?
I just don't know.
Oh, sugar.
I mean, antibiotics in this chicken and
Welcome to Amy Liz Harrison's podcast, Eternally Amy, a mum of eight's journey from jail to joy. A Gen Xer who overcame her struggle with alcohol to become a best-selling author and mental health advocate. She shares stories of hope and offers ideas for others struggling with mental health challenges, spirituality, ADHD, or maybe just family, travel, and logistics. One thing is for sure, you'll leave with something to chew on. And now, here's your host, Amy Liz Harrison, with your mystery meat sandwich.
Greetings, compadres. For your mystery meat sandwich today, a quote by our favorite friend, Unknown. Love is blind. Friendship closes its eyes. And if you happen to be friends with some folks or a person who you love dearly, who has the ability to overlook a multitude of things and the ability to just be by your side no matter what, you're lucky, right? I call these friends, quote, bury the body friends, unquote. And these are the ones who, with no questions asked, you can call up in the middle of the night and just say, hey, I'm in a bind. I need your help. And they will drop everything and they're there for you. And most of us, when we find those kinds of friends, man, we just really know how rare that is by the time we find one. And on this throwback episode today, you will hear an episode between me and my wonderful friend Kelli. And I always tell her, you and I are the type who would just toilet paper somebody's house for the other person, no matter what. No matter if Kelli was in the wrong and the other person was in the right, if they threw shade on her or they otherwise were negatively impacting her, forget about it. I don't even want to hear the story. There is no excuse. I'm toilet papering your house. It's just kind of how it goes, right? And I know she would do the same for me. And one thing I love so much about Kelli is that when I get down on myself or I speak negatively about myself, she will say to me, don't talk about my friend like that. And that is such a great phrase because it's a reminder that, hold up, wait a minute. Why am I saying this about myself? Why do I have this negative self-talk thing going on? And so that's your mystery meat sandwich for today. Love is blind. Friendship closes its eyes. How true that is. So as I move into the chaplain's chat for today, as I mentioned, it is a throwback episode today. And if you haven't heard one yet, these are the episodes that I found while doing a digital cleanup with my son. And they're of my very first podcast, and it took place in a tiny house in the backyard of my old house. So the recording is questionable at best. It is super horrible, actually, but the content was what I feel was totally worth reposting because the ideas and the concepts are evergreen. And I listened to some of these again to make sure that I still pretty much agree with what is being said. It's still true. So it's not like, oh, this is an ancient episode and everything is, not relevant today because Abraham Lincoln was still president at that time. No, I'm just kidding. So basically, these are my solid gold hits. And from time to time, I'll bring one back out. And, these solid gold hits will occasionally be woven in throughout the year. Just kind of the best of the best episodes from that point in time in the old quote unquote studio, aka tiny house. And the content, I still feel is relevant today. So that's what I'm calling it, the greatest hits throwback. So a couple things to bring us all up to speed and get current. This is now, okay, so it's 2023. Next month, I will have, God willing, 12 years of sobriety. And I met Kelli, my friend Kelli, when I was about a year and change sober. It may be more than that, but at this very second, I can't remember the exact point in time. So we are still friends. In fact, we are thick as thieves. And she gets so many components of me, even though at first glance you wouldn't think so, because many of my life situations, so many aspects of my life are so different than hers. I have 8 kids. She doesn't have kids. She cooks like the barefoot Contessa, and I cook like a frat boy. But, there are just some friendships that travel across time and space, and this is one of them. We speak the same language. We have very similar paths that brought us together, and it's just such a joy to connect with somebody who you just see their light, they see your light, you share the divine, and it brings me so much joy to be able to present this throwback to you. Please enjoy.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to the AT Mom podcast. Here's what's amazing. Today, I have one of my dearest friends with me. Her name is Kelli. And this woman, you guys, can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich even. Way better than me. She is so talented on so many levels. And actually, I think you have a trick for that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I think it's actually made with like pound cake. Or
it is made with pound cake. That's correct. It's pound cake.
So I knew it was something magical like that. But here's the thing. Those friends you have in your life who, she makes me laugh all the time. She's there for me with a nugget of wisdom when I need it.
Uh-oh.
She's just down for anything. Like, I could call her up on any given day and just be like, hey, Kel, do you have a few minutes? Let's go toilet papering.
Yes.
She'd be down, you know?
Keep talking. I'm believing you. I'm believing every word.
I love it. Everybody needs a Kelli in their life, is basically what I'm telling you.
Plenty to go around.
There's plenty to go around. But one thing that I love so much about her, among all of the myriad of things that she is capable of doing, is and I don't even know how you do that. And we're going to, for the sake of actual, I guess for the sake of having a title, what we'll call our chat today is how to, you just said it a second ago, which I loved, so I wrote it down, how to actually entertain and have fun. But we may deviate from that topic and go rogue, which tends to happen, which is totally fine. But so how would you say, my first memory of you was in a meeting that we were both in, and we were in this shed.
Yes.
At a church.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, I remember looking at you, and I always compliment your eyeshadow, which I hope isn't weird.
No. Okay. No, any compliment is never weird for me.
Good.
No.
I'm so glad to hear that. But I remember thinking, man, she looks out of place, because we were there with some, different folks.
Rough customers.
I remember thinking that, I was like, man, she looks like she's got her shit together. Like, that was my
Perfect.
first. Is that what you were going for? Is that
gosh,
the look
yes.
you were after?
Absolutely. Oh, gosh. If I look good, no one's going to ask me how I'm feeling or anything like that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's the facade. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Because I thought that about you. I thought, oh my gosh, she's a mom. And I think that you were pregnant with Cinco.
Probably.
Number 5.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, isn't that great? She's a mom, and things that came out of your mouth were so lovely, and I could relate to them because we both grew up with a lot of church.
Yes, we did.
With a lot of, I'd call it evangelical. I mean, not crazy like television evangelist or, fake faith healers. But, we both grew up going to a lot of retreats. And so there's a language that goes to that is comforting. When I hear it from somebody else, I'm like, uh-oh, that person's probably going to get me.
Yeah.
And so we did start talking about those kinds of things. And you were funny and outgoing. And I thought, oh, she's got a really good sense of humor. I wonder if she'd want to be friends with me.
Well, that's flattering. Oh my goodness. Because I always picture, like, that's what I think about you, is that kind of like, Kelly's always ready with the one-liners. You've got the quick-witted, like, reaction. And I'm that person who thinks of the quick-witted reaction about 6 hours later in the shower, and I'm like, shoot, I could have said that.
I feel like you do all right. I still remember the day that I brought up, hey, Aim, do you remember, like, in elementary school that they had Christian musicals, like, that were actual productions? And they had them in records. I had The Music Man, and I remember I was a part of the music. I was Dinky's mother in the story of the donkey who brought Jesus into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. That was a big supporting role for me. And you, without skipping a beat, said, "Oh, yeah, you mean like bullfrogs and butterflies?" And a little bit of pee came out. I was laughing so hard. I thought, oh my gosh, yes, we are friends, aren't we?
Totally.
That's just one of the many things that when it comes out, I'm like, this gal's a capital R real friend.
Oh.
Along with the other goofy, messy stuff we get to talk about. But
oh, yeah, which is all part of the fun.
Yep.
That is true. And I especially love that your mom is a... Well, we don't really call her a former, gospel singer.
No,
she is. She's in it still.
Oh, you bet.
mean, yeah.
Yeah. She still rocks her jams around the area. I think they're in Arizona right now. So she, quite frankly, went ahead and dropped a couple hits on the Mother's Day service.
Did she?
Oh yeah. She said it went over big. It was one of her, it was I don't know if it was to Phantom of the Opera.
Okay.
Or if it was, I don't think it was the one that I told you about, the remix of Send in the Clowns, but it's done with spiritual lyrics.
The remix. Okay.
Right? I mean, remember, we've talked about that.
So sidebar, Kelly's mom used to attend, camps like Cannon Beach and different things, and she had a singing partner, right?
Oh,
and they were
bet.
sort of the captain and Tennille.
They most certainly were the captain.
Of course they were.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And they would do this thing where they would take a popular show tune, right? And they would Christianize it. Yeah?
Yep. Andrew Lloyd Webber was a favorite. And sorry, Andrew. Sir Andrew. I think he got knighted. I'm not sure. But
It's
anyway,
nothing but a compliment.
Right? It's for sure. And, quite frankly, they're good.
Yeah.
And I keep threatening at one of our gatherings to bring out one of her CDs. Her original album is on vinyl. So
Of course.
And I think she cut that in the early 80s, late 70s. And they're almost sold out. So my dad made some comment on Mother's Day when we were on the phone, and he said something like, yeah, they're flying off the shelves. It was, God bless her. You know what? There's a specific audience. When I say that my mom's a gospel singer, people are like, I love gospel music. And they're thinking like a la the Queen of Soul or something like that. And I'm like, well, and I'll say, have you ever seen Lawrence Welk? Which we have tackled that. We have talked deeply about Lawrence Welk.
Yeah.
And they had the Champagne Sisters. There was a woman on there named Norma. I feel like it went into the cloud, but her name was Norma something. Go ahead, tell people to send in their comments and emails and the answers to Amy. But Norma, that's my mom. You know, those dresses from Lawrence Welk, my mom had. That was her costume. She modeled her stage wear after that. So it was more, my mom's a lyric soprano. So it's Christian music. I don't know how to explain it other than gospel music, but it's not, it's for a crowd that's maybe a little longer in the tooth. Right?
Dude!
Right? Does that, I hope that helps. I hope
it
that
completely helps.
Yeah.
And sidebar, I can't remember if I've ever told you this, but my grandparents owned a timeshare at the Lawrence Welk Resort in Escondido, California.
No, that has never come out.
Well, you're welcome. And there happens to be on the property a Lawrence Welk Museum, and it has photos of the Champagne Singers, and it has this whole historical, self-guided, and I'll tell you that my husband Andrew is a big fan of, he likes historical sort of older things, and he's been through that museum and spent a fair amount of time in there.
Get out of here.
And he likes to...
You have also, please tell me.
Oh, I've been, for sure. For sure.
Is that a pilgrimage that needs to be taken?
I mean, I'd say it probably wouldn't rank up there on like the top 10 must-dos in California, but it's a great side trip. I mean,
if you're in
find
the area.
yourself in Escondido.
If you're in the area.
It's kind of amazing, you know.
Is there a cafe or anything?
There's a little cafe,
Okay.
And I think they make a pretty mean egg salad sandwich.
Soft foods for the crowd. You get the soft foods. You don't want to, no.
I didn't even have to point
You don't
it
want
out
to throw
you.
a crown or slip a denture.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are plenty of handicap,
Yes.
bars and rails. It's ADA compliant.
Ramps.
The entire resort is. So, I mean, you can feel safe there, and you can feel
Whole family. Bring the whole family.
Wholesome fun for the whole family.
Oh, Lawrence Welk.
So, speaking of egg salad sandwiches,
Yes.
now, quickly, though, I will say this. I'm going to say, like, a final note on that. If I pass, like, knock on wood, but if I pass... within the next reasonable amount of time,
Okay.
you can
God forbid.
hook your mom up with coming to sing at my funeral, right?
Yes.
And I want to specify that I want the Send in the Clowns Christian version. That's the song I am requesting.
All you got to do is write it down.
At my
I don't want to
service.
have to. I don't want to get in fights with anybody about what tunes that you asked for.
So
but
let it be known
yeah,
that is the song I'm requesting.
done.
And okay, so I do have one final question on this that I've got to have you share a little snippet of when your parents city living, there's somebody honking right outside.
You're welcome.
When your parents had the singing telegram business.
Yes. Yes, they did. They did have a singing telegram business, and it was in our home, and we had a separate telephone line downstairs. Probably the biggest perk to I think that maybe I can't remember how old I was, maybe 12-ish. They had it for a few years. Was that there was a helium tank, so that was a big draw. to go down and fill a few balloons and have your friends go down there and hi, it makes your voice funny. All right. Yeah, so easy to please. And there were costumes. I believe there were only two. There were two costumes available. There was either the clown costume.
Of course.
If you want a freaky looking clown coming at you. Or there was the cream colored tuxedo with brown velvet piping. Was there a top hat, Amy? Was that your next question? Correct.
It was.
There was a brown felt top hat, and that was waka waka waka. Because so the happy birthday was to like sweet mystery of life. That was one. I mean, but the words would change. I mean, yeah, and the balloons were delivered and things like that. I mean, that was a. Yeah, that was.
If memory serves me, you and your sister would field the phone calls, right? When people would call requesting a singing telegram.
Or balloons.
Your choice, right? Or maybe that was an add-on too. Could I request a song and balloons?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, okay. That was Yahtzee. That was a big get. Yeah. Yes.
And then would I be able to request the costume and like choose my song from a list provided of?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the humor was, I mean, it was always super, not even PG, rated G.
Of course.
Super rated G. So,
no need to worry that anything inappropriate might happen.
No way.
No way.
No, not on their watch, no.
Now remind me of there was a vehicle that...
Oh, God, Amy, what a memory. Awesome. Yeah, I love it. Because I also have a memory like a steel trap. Yes, my dad's Ford, I think it was a Ranchero pickup. Was it a collector's item? Probably.
Think so.
It was very old, and it was red, and it kind of had a janky paint job. And they went ahead and put those vinyl letters from the hardware store on it.
Oh, yeah.
On the side of it.
The company name?
Yeah, because it was red, and red means fun. And
of course.
So, and if you want your birthday fun attached, then you probably want a singing telegram and balloons.
Did your dad ever get out of the car? Or he just let her kind
You
of
know
go
what?
up
God bless my dad. He, you know what? His ego was removed for that for that period of time. And I... Yeah, but I'll tell you, I don't know if my sister had as hard a time. I feel scarred, and with lowercase s, but scarred just the same, having him pick me up from school. I mean, I dare say I would have rather walked.
Picked up in the Ranchero that said
5 to 7 miles home. Oh gosh, yeah. Quite frankly, with or without the letters, that truck really gave me the heebs. And I've questioned my dad about it. Dad, why that truck? Well, I always wanted a red truck. Well, but that one? I mean, I never understood it. But
Be careful getting into the passenger seat lest you snag the velvet piping on... I mean, that would be horrible. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
cream was a really daring color for that.
Bold.
Bold.
It was bold choice.
It was a bold choice. But I'm sure my mom, if I know my mom, and I do, she consulted her color wheel and said, "This is, yeah." I know. I make fun of my mom and dad so much because I love them. I tell them all the time, how would they know that I loved them unless I made fun of them?
That's right.
That's the language of our people. My sister says that, sarcasm and humor.
That's what my mom always says. She's like, I'm glad I give you so many stories.
Yes.
That you can share with your buddies. Because how boring would my life be, right, if I didn't have those stories?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I mean...
So hopefully I'm doing the same
sometimes
for my
I
kids.
feel such compassion for people who are like, my mom's my best friend, and we just, there's just no bumps, and there's no peaks and valleys. It's just, she gets me.
Tra-la-la.
Yeah. I mean, I have a more colorful relationship with my mom and my dad, and it's made for a really rich relationship with them now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some realness there, and I dig it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I feel like my relationship with my grandparents, now I'm kind of rewinding to the Lawrence Welk thing, was, it's funny because I find myself actually, this is a little bit scary, but becoming kind of like my grandparents were. Like, I walk into a hotel room and I'm like, oh, does the TV work? Okay, we're good. Okay, can I put the blinds up to this, sort of height, and let me get my pillow out that's got the special neck. I'm sort of, I'm becoming them at 42, which I'm okay with, but...
Look, another connect for us is our need for, you beat me in the abundance of pillows. I only have need for 3 at night, so in true one-upsmanship, you got me there. No, that's exactly the same. Look, lady, we were just at a hotel. And one of the things that I made note of is that they had good Q-tips.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Like, they were the good Q-tip brand, not the,
not those flexible plastic.
Cotton swab. Yeah. Generic cotton swab. Where when I'm, ranking it around my ear, it bends or breaks. And
yeah.
Yeah. And I've got, part of a Q-tip lodged.
You got some fuzz coming out the side. Yeah, pass on that.
No, there are a lot of similarities of grandparents that are coming through.
Yep.
In my late 40s.
Yep.
And I thank them.
We're going to go with it.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Same with me. I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my grandma, she came from a generation where I don't even know how they did it. We have like a lot of convenience meals today, right? But my grandma was still from that generation where, she didn't like hand bake bread or anything, at least when I knew her. But, every night she was cooking, and it was like, a roast and some kind of starch and a couple of veggies, and of course they had their cocktail hour at first, and with their, she had those peanuts that have the skin coming off of them, the red skin,
like Spanish peanuts.
That's it. Yeah. So they'd have that whole thing, but she cooked every night. And I didn't get that gene. That's one gene I did not inherit. But I think that's one of the things that always impresses me so much about you, is that you freaking make cooking look easy. You make it look easy. And the same with baking. I mean, this kid, I just have to explain to you people listening, this kid shows up here and she's like, oh, I just busted out, 24 cupcakes. And if I brought 24 cupcakes to anybody's event, first of all, I'd be sweating. I'd be, swearing. I'd be in a bad mood. And they'd be like Pillsbury, cupcakes with funfetti. They would look terrible. And this one shows up. She's got this carrying case for cupcakes. And she removes it. And she's like hand piped the frosting on these things. I mean,
it's easier. It's easier to pipe, buddy. I'm telling you.
Well, looks better. Yeah, that's for
true.
Sure.
It's faster. Just, pipe.
Okay, so how did you, I guess my first question on this is, how do you find joy in cooking and baking? Like, how did you start? And how did it lead to a place where it doesn't seem like a big deal that you do this?
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up, very similar to you, I have a grandma. Both grandmas were entertainers and bakers and cooks, and I baked and cooked with them. My mom baked a lot too. I can't imagine. I mean, you can't see this, ladies and gentlemen, but I was greeted with a beautiful pack of Mother's chocolate chip cookies when I walked in to the Beat Laboratory, and yeah. And I'll tell you, I can't remember. We always wanted Oreos, and that was like a big treat. Maybe when we went camping, we had Oreos. But my mom cooked and baked a lot. And I love to experiment. I did from a very young age. I didn't watch after the Smurfs got taken off the air.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I started watching Channel 9. I watched cooking shows. So I watched Julia Child and The Frugal Gourmet, Jeff Smith, which he kind of took a turn. But anyway, I watched all those, and I watched great chefs. And when I got home from school, I watched cooking shows. I really loved it. Maybe I was just hungry, and so I wanted to watch it. I don't know why, but I loved watching those. And when I made something that was actually good, I mean, there were a lot of losers. I mean, trust me. But when I made something really good, I got, positive attention from it.
Sure.
And I still to this day can't get enough of that. So I always enjoyed that. I love entertaining. I love having people over. I love a potluck.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing a lot of it, and I enjoyed the effects from it. I like eating well, and I like having friends over and gatherings and stuff. So I really enjoyed the attention from it. And it's funny about the baking. I have some control issues. I really like making things the way I like them. I grew up with a grandmother and a mother who put walnuts in everything. Another connect point for us.
Yep.
The dirt nut. Our disdain for the dirt nut. It tastes like dirt. Mm-hmm. And I want to like a walnut. I understand the health benefits are out of this world. But my body says no.
Yeah.
No to walnuts. And most every chocolate chip cookie that was offered to me growing up had a dirt nut in it. And
why?
Exactly. And that's what I said to the universe. Why? And that was one of those things when I got grown. I'm not putting nuts in my chocolate chip. No.
It's the same with oatmeal cookies that they have those like hidden raisins
that are like eyeballs.
Why?
No, I run into a little baby prune right when I'm trying to enjoy an oatmeal cookie.
Yes.
Horror. No. And so I think part of the inception of my enjoyment of baking is that I wanted to make things the way I wanted to make them, so control. And I like the attention that I got from it. And I'm more of a salty, crunchy girl, as
Amen.
We both are. But if something's really good and it's sweet, if a pastry or something like that is really good, then I am like, yeah. I mean, I'll eat that. If it isn't, I'm like, pass. I'd rather have a chip.
Yeah.
So I started baking a lot. I started baking a lot probably a few years ago. Probably, let's see, my nephew is 16, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. I've got 2 nephews. As you know, I have 0 children, 0 offspring of my own. And so I have these 2 nephews, and they were in Little League, baseball and football. Both, talented and super handsome and good kids. And, because we don't have kids, we work a lot during the week. And I'm thinking, on the weekends, we're kind of like, what are we up to? Not much. So I started going to their games. But I'm thinking, I can't go empty-handed. I wasn't raised to show up to something empty-handed. So I started baking for both their teams. And yeah, you were in the trust tree. So I'll say I got a lot of positive attention for it. The kids loved it,
yeah.
and the parents, oh my goodness, when do you have the time? And I'd always just kind of give them that knowing smirk, and I'd be like, well, I don't have any kids, so I've got time on my hands. And it gave me an avenue to experiment. I got onto the interweb and found all sorts of super cool recipes, and none of them with nuts.
Pass on the nuts.
No. And And the kids loved it, and I loved it, and it gave me a really fun, creative outlet. So we always had something to do. You know, on the weekends we'd go, and it gave me a really great opportunity to kind of rebuild a relationship with my family.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that was right around the time that it was time for me to do that. And establish some credibility and some trust, and it really... It was really, it really had a hand in, you know, giving me a life. I found myself having fun with it and doing something that was, you know, yes, it was for other people, but I got the juice from it. So practice. It's just practice.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Is that I think one reason why, like, making something from scratch seems like such a big deal to me is because I don't do it super often anymore. You know, when I was first married, and I think even when I had Ashley and Alex, I was still doing sort of like every night, you know, making a menu and doing meals.
Yeah.
But I've lost my touch. I've completely lost my touch. And I think that I was going to ask you that. Is it just, you know, when you do it a lot, it's probably not as big of a deal? Because I remember that feeling. Like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, the example that I had growing up, which I'm sure you did too. And so, and I want to ask you about that too, because, you know, you have a herd. I mean, and at what point did you stop cooking and say, you know what, I've got to give this up because it's too much.
Yep.
And then did you go through any shame over it?
Yes, I did. Yes. And I think there's a weird part of me that's still there, like still in that, like, I should be
cooking,
you know,
wholesome meals for my
yeah. And I think especially with all these people with their like, oh, I make everything organic and gluten-free or whatever. And
shaming.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh crap, you know, and I mean,
is this roast grass-fed?
I just don't know.
Oh, sugar.
I mean, you know, antibiotics in this chicken and so, you know, yeah, I do feel a little bit badly. But here's what I've learned is that, like, for me at this stage in my life, it's okay to just not, I hire it out for starters. You know, I do have somebody cook for us, and it's usually about 3 to 4 days a week. But the other days, man, it is like door dashing or, you know, to go or whatever, or, you know, if we like go on a trip and I just need something for the kitchen, I'll get one of those like bird's eye garlic chicken, one pot, open it up, throw it on the stove kind of things. You know, and we do a lot of stuff like the old school tacos and spaghetti night because that's what my kids like and that's what they'll eat. And one thing that I've learned from my household is that they like different things, and so because I refuse to play the short order cook, what I do is if I do make a meal, I generally make things that have on the side, so like sauce on the side or whatever on the side, and that's as far as I'll go. I mean, if it's, you know, something that you truly hate and you can't find any element of that meal that you'll eat, like there's a yogurt in the fridge and that's that. It, like, I'm not gonna
crack a Yoplait.
Yeah. So
that's something that you had to learn.
Yeah.
And it was something, you know, it's now something that you practice. The thought of feeding that many people on a daily, I mean, that would suck a lot of. Right now, it's a choice for me.
Sure. Okay.
I choose to do that. Right.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where people go, oh, you know, oh, you should open a bakery or you should do that, and sometimes there's romance behind that idea. I mean, oh yeah, here's me, and I'm the, you know, jolly smart mouth person who owns the bakery. Okay, and I get that, you know, idea that's really funny, but you know that. Well, I mean, I suppose there's still an element of choice. I would just be jobless if I didn't bake and I owned a bakery. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it takes the element of choice out of it. But I have a choice to do it. So, I mean, because you have to feed and water your kids, it takes the choice out of it.
Yeah.
And it's just this really daunting chore. I mean, Tim and I were at Costco the other day, and I'm thinking about you. And quite frankly, I think Tim might have commented, because we saw people with like massive, like they didn't just go for the jumbo cart. They had the flatbed.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I mean, however you get it done.
Yeah.
That's legit good.
Yeah.
And so it's a treat if you bake something, or, I mean, are any of the boys or girls into baking or cooking?
No, unfortunately. They've taken foods at school, but, I mean, that's kind of one of those things where they come home and they're like, hey, I made 6 different kinds of eggs today, which that's actually pretty helpful, but
wow.
Sort of like not in a setting like ours. I went through phases. God, I've tried like everything. It's kind of the same thing as like a chore chart in my house. Like, let's try this for a while, and we're going to, the girls are going to do a meal on Monday, and the boys are going to do a meal on Tuesday. Yeah, it never happens. Issue is, then someone's got a lacrosse practice that we didn't account for, and then somebody else, has a project due the next day, and so their group is meeting to, like, it always...
again, the romance behind that idea. I'm going to be the mom who has this chart up on the wall.
I know.
And it's littered with gold stars and check marks. And,
Yeah.
And this day, wow. I mean,
yeah,
that's one of the wonderful things about getting to be friends with you, is that, you're honest about the sometimes messy and chaotic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But hey, all 8 of those kids are still standing.
So far, so good.
And and what's more, they know they're loved, and they know that they're cared for. And they have a mom and dad that are still laughing and hugging each other. I mean,
thanks. Yeah.
Look, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I endorse that.
Yeah.
I mean, right? I just think that's pretty awesome. But that's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to do this thing, and the big ideas.
Womp, womp.
Yeah.
But, that's okay. Like, that's, been an important, like, lesson that I've learned, too, is that, okay, so we tried that, and that was a big fat flop. Like, maybe we'll try something else, and then that's not really working for me right now. Mm-hmm. But whatever. And this seems to work well for at this stage in my life, So it's like, okay. But speaking of messes, that's another question I actually have for you is, are you, when you cook or when you bake, okay, because here's the thing. When I come to your house, it is like, it looks like Martha Stewart has been in your kitchen. Your kitchen is flippin' clean as all get out. And, like, you should see, if I make something from scratch, my kitchen just looks like, friggin' Chernobyl. I mean, it's crazy, And so I'm wondering, are you a clean as you go type? Or are you throw it all in the sink and then do dishes later? Because I don't. Does Tim do your dishes? Because Andrew does my dishes.
He absolutely does.
Yeah.
My cleanup team is Tim, and I because I love him, and he is my helper and not my slave. Then I try to kind of clean as I go and be a little bit neater. Sometimes I fall short of the mark there. But that's come with practice. I used to be super messy.
Really?
Oh yeah. When I was younger, and if I was cooking over at a friend's house, I mean, I'd leave quite awake. But now it's my kitchen. I know where everything is, and I have a tool for that. I have things done, and so. I do tend to clean as I go, and I do, before I embark on a recipe, I have kind of a plan. I have, I think the French call it mise en place, so I have everything in its place before I embark on a recipe most of the time. And although that didn't happen last night, we came home and I decided I wanted to make a lemon poppy seed cake. Which was the one that stuck to the bundt pan. That was the cake fail. Yeah.
Can't even picture you having a cake fail.
I should have taken a picture of it. I was so cheesed off when it happened, and I walked downstairs to Tim and I said, "Nope, I said to him, it's not coming out. It's not. Oh, hun, it will, Mr. Pop. Okay, and
Mr. Optimism.
Yeah, and I was like, and sure enough, it didn't. I forced it to try to come out, and it broke off completely. It tasted good, but yeah, that was a cake fail. But if I don't have things in their place and I'm rushed, I'll forget something.
Okay.
I'll be like, oh, did I put baking powder in? Did I put salt in? Did I put 4 cups in or 5 cups? Things definitely start to go pear shaped, but it's nice having Tim. Tim loves to eat, and that's just kind of how our roles have fallen in. So and especially if I'm having people over, I have a plan.
Yeah.
I have a plan. And I'm fortunate I get to have a plan. I don't have, somebody throwing me off with, oh, we got to go do this, or I got to put a fire out over here, or anything like that. I get to set aside time specifically for that. And that's like a gift. And it also calms me down. I feel calm and I am in my element when I'm in the kitchen. I don't necessarily have to have music on or anything else stimulating me.
You're in the zone.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
We had this memorable meal. I want to say maybe it was January, and we were at your house and you made that pork tenderloin thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to understand, I was in my chair at your dining room table, just I never wanted to leave. It was I wanted to fully have all of my senses experience that meal, for the rest of my days.
I love that pork tenderloin recipe, man.
It was as if I was under a trance that was created by your pork tenderloin. I mean, something was going on. I was having a spiritual experience with your pork tenderloin.
That's exactly what I was going for.
You know what I'm saying.
Anything less than that would have been a massive disappointment.
Right? Well, I'll just have you know that occurred at that.
Awesome.
That night was I don't even know. It was incredible.
Yeah. I love that. See, I'll tell you right now, that could, if you wanted to just blow everyone's mind, that is a super easy and fast recipe that you could make for the whole squad.
That'd be amazing.
And because I worked that day and I made that, because I had everything, ready. But you could just do the pork and then, grab the sides. Yeah. Yeah. If you wanted to carve out time for that. But it's just wanting to do something like that. But yeah, that I love that pork recipe, man. That's Barefoot Contessa, who I love. I love the Barefoot Contessa.
Shout out Barefoot Contessa. Well, and the other thing that I was going to ask you about is you never seem do you get stressed out about cooking? Because I'm that person who's what if the chicken isn't cooked and I give everybody salmonella? I get stressed about that kind of thing.
Has that happened?
No, but could. So when you come to my house, you're the person who gets the piece of chicken who has a bunch of cut marks in it, because Andrew and I are always afraid of poisoning people. Well, I don't know why.
I'd rather somebody err on the side of caution, as far as that goes. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll eat a dry chicken breast so not to be ill. Yeah.
Pass the barbecue sauce.
Yeah. Do I get... Well, I'll tell you that evening, that meal that we had, I came home and I had the potatoes already and I put them in the oven. And I tell you, you guys had all arrived and those potatoes were still crunchy. And I'm like, awesome. So super duper. So I just jacked up the, temperature and crossed my fingers. It was Julia Child who said, no one will know, apologize for nothing. And, which doesn't really apply to life as far as apologizing for nothing, but as far as, you know, in the kitchen, it actually turned out the potatoes did cook. I don't stress out about making anybody sick. I do stress out that somebody will walk out and not have the experience that you had. So it's either, because I'm a sick ding-a-ling, it's either you had a spiritual experience with my pork tenderloin.
Right.
Or it was meh. Or it was just, I was hungry and I ate it and it tasted good. That would upset me. I would be like, what? It wasn't amazing? But that's, you know, my ego. I'm either top of the heap or I'm the total pond scum.
Kick in the dirt.
Yes, I'm kicking the dirt.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm very observant and I'll look around and I'll be like, that person didn't take thirds. Oh,
what's
boy. And I'll start rocking back and forth in my head and just like, oh, no, that wasn't amazing. Or, you know, or somebody's just, I watch people's faces and I was like, is that elation or disdain? I just, yeah. But I get excited. I don't get stressed. I get excited because if I'm not going to feed anybody something that I don't think is good.
Yeah.
And so I get more excited, like, you know, they're going to really like this. And it's how I express, you know, generosity and love to my friends. You know,
sure.
I have people over to my house who I care about and love. If you're crossing the threshold of my home, that means that you are cared about and loved by me, and please enjoy this meal. You know,
it definitely comes across that way.
Okay.
When I walk into your house, I literally feel like I can just walk in, you know, take my shoes off, open a LaCroix, kind of just, I'm instantly in that feeling that you've created, you know, just by your love for being able to do this for people. And I love that about you. I mean, it's one of the many things, but it's just kind of like you have that hospitality that I really just think it's a gift. I think a lot of us stress out to some degree, at least, either, you know, whether it, you know, we're just kind of like, what am I going to make, and ruminating over that, or whatever. But none of these things seem like jarring or like big deals to you. You just kind of roll with it, and you're very focused. At least in my experience that I've seen, on the people who are there.
Oh, good.
It doesn't seem you're like, you know, to bring it back to the Christian, the Christian circle, the Mary and the Martha, you know, you don't, it's not like you're just kind of in the, you know, kitchen swearing and sweating like I usually am. So
good. I think that is, you know, part of the joy of entertaining in my home is that I got to create a home. That I got to create a home that is warm and cozy, and I'm so grateful that I've gotten to a place in my life where I don't well, first of all, I get to choose who comes into my home, so, you know, I don't compare myself to other people as much as I can. I mean, sometimes that ugliness creeps in. But again, if you're coming into my home, I love and care about you, and I trust you, and I want that feeling that you just described to happen. That is a massive compliment. I'm gonna bathe in that just all day and probably into the coming days. Yeah.
Well, good.
Oh God, yeah. So that's always, I want people to feel the generous spirit that I think that, you know, lives inside me, that I want people to, you know, I want people to stay.
Yeah.
And, you know, just enjoy themselves. And that's just one of life's gifts.
Well, you definitely feel it as a guest in your home. Like, that definitely comes across, that, you know, it is a joy and not a burden.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely, you know, I mean, I get that feeling every time I roll up at your place, and
good.
just feel honored to be there. You know what I mean? It's just so fun. And she's
thanks,
usually got
buddy.
an amazing playlist going as well. Just, you know, whether it's that, what was it, the Little River Band station or whatever.
My Little River Band station on
Amazing.
Pandora, or what one of the favorites that the Wolfpack enjoyed was my Olivia Newton-John playlist.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah. I don't know how Pandora picks those, but
It's like they can read our minds.
it's weird.
They know what we need.
Oh, Guy, that's one of the new inventions of the technologies that I love.
It's the best.
I
But
know.
it all creates a mood.
Yeah.
It all creates a mood. And I would like to say this. I would like to share just a cute little story about you as we finish up that this is a recent story too, but I loved so much, is that it was Easter time. I was like, oh man, I was stressing. We'd had all these birthdays recently, and I was just like, okay, and here comes Easter, like another meal, and let's make the deviled eggs. And it just kind of like was feeling sort of daunting, and we were going to have like 16 people. And it just was like, I was having trouble tapping into any kind of joy for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He was feeling more like, oh, if I could just phone this in right now, that's what I'd be doing. And this is going to sound a little bit dumb, but so you made this like vat of amazing ham sauce, which I'm pretty sure was sprinkled with cocaine. But anyway, there was some magical thing in this ham sauce. And you were like, oh, you making a ham? And I was like, well, yeah, because I'm lazy, so I'm going to just go get a honey baked ham. And you were like, well, I'm going to drop off some ham sauce for you. And I was like, wait, what? And it was weird because, you know, usually I'm the girl cutting open the foil, you know, ham sauce pack that
it comes with honey baked.
It does.
Yeah.
And I was like, so you made ham sauce from scratch? Like, first of all, I was blown away and amazed. And then secondly, it just was the kindest, and I mean, it was just the sweetest gesture that you would actually come out of your way and bring me some of your golden nectar ham sauce. I mean, it was amazing. And then, of course, we had to throw a hashtag in front of it for all of our texts back and forth regarding said ham sauce. But it spoke to me so much, and just was another way that I feel that you bless me. And it just was, it like, first of all, completely made my Easter. I mean, it was like we were all talking about the ham sauce at the table.
They rolled the stone away, and there was ham sauce.
Oh,
Amazing.
it was amazing. It was like I'm pretty sure actually the Last Supper, there was ham sauce there because, yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Apart from the part where, you know, they were all Jewish and didn't eat pork. Yeah. A lot of letters coming in about that. Amy.
Minor
details. Yeah.
Minor detail. But, yeah. Maybe, I wonder if maybe it's just a dipping sauce for that, you know, the bread.
It'll have to, you know what? Sidetrack. We'll have to have another episode about how ham evolved into Easter. How did that happen?
That's for next time.
Yeah.
That is for next time, ladies and gentlemen. Will you come back? Will you do us the honor of coming back?
Love to.
You're amazing. I love you so much. This is
you.
Kelli D, ladies and gentlemen. Kelli D. Beautiful, generous, talented, creative, funny as all hell, Kelli D.
Wow.
It's a joy to have you in my life, and I love you.
I love you to bits.
And so, for your bailout bag today, please remember to be kind, rewind. Thank you for the honor of your time. Take what you like and leave the rest behind. And don't forget, in the mystery meat sandwich today, I started out with a quote that also rhymes with my little bailout bag. And so, of course, I'm going to repeat it. Duh. And the quote is, "Love is blind. Friendship closes its eyes."
Thank you so much for listening to Eternally Amy. Amy Liz Harrison is a best-selling author, speaker, 12-step coach, meditation teacher, and recovery advocate. To find out more, please visit amylizharrison.com. Keep up with Amy on all platforms by following @AmyLizHarrison. Please subscribe and review this podcast. It means so much to us if you do.